Hello, everyone. I'm Catwoman.
And I'm Gadget Goddess. And we are
your homegirls of tech.
Here on the Gadget Chats podcast. Welcome to Tech Woes.
Yeah, we kind of started late because of me. I'm having tech woes. But on the bright side,
I was about to jump in there. I was actually going to be like, oh, when you bring on a guest, it's always complicated. Oh, darn those guests. But you beat me to taking the blame and making y'all look good. So that's on you.
No, you were ready spaghetti like 110%.
I'm pretty good, so.
Yeah. So for those who are listening, we have SomeGadgetGuy, aka Juan Bagnell, here with us. He is awesome. To describe him is to say that he is not only a YouTuber, blogger, does podcasts and everything, but he is a revolutionary man. He's a revolutionary man because he doesn't just go for what's popular. He makes whatever tech comes to him on and popping, okay? I bet you everybody that's already here listening and watching this knows Juan. But he definitely has a lot going on. First and foremost, he just recently did a podcast yesterday. He always podcasts on Mondays at 9 in the morning Pacific Standard Time. He calls his podcast a terribly named podcast.
Podcast name ever. It's awful.
But it's still memorable. One of the things that I love about him is that he's not afraid to talk about politics and tech and how it coincides and things that we need to look at. So whenever you have a chance, definitely watch his podcast because he makes it digestible. He also has
words. That's interesting.
I'm not done talking great about you.
Okay.
He also has he also has a blog, which he himself said that he made it on WordPress, and it's not, a big thing. But I was looking at his site, and because I looked at his site before, and it's pretty awesome. Especially the main part that I love is that the image of the card version of his podcast, of his blog. When you go into it, it turns into a big header at the top. I'm like, wow, that's kind of amazing. And it's very, very detailed with videos that he does. He has a corresponding blog, and then actually the past week, because his daughter had a birthday, he did not post a video, but he did post articles on his blog. So definitely check it out. Okay, I'm good with the introduction.
Time there, so,
Well, here's the short version. Welcome, Juan. We're glad to have you.
I was like, I know I keep busy. I know I keep busy. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on as one of your first guests. I'm always stoked to try and help break new podcasts and content creators, and it's become a major advocacy point over this last year. Is this tech community is too precious to let algorithms decide for us what should be popular. And never before have we seen as great a diversity of people joining the tech conversation as marginalized by automatic software from services like YouTube and Facebook. So I've enjoyed your past shows tremendously, and I'm stoked to be able to jump in and join a chat with you in real time. It's one of those shows, I'm sure a lot of folks out there probably feel the same way, that like when you have those podcasts you love to listen to, you're constantly talking to the hosts, but it's always surreal when like you say something and then they reply to you. Like that always feels like it's like a trick in my brain. So thank you for having me on.
Well,
we're very happy to have you.
Everybody's talking about Juan's mic. I had issues with my Bluetooth. Catwoman's having you're crackly. But
Oh, see, I'm hearing
sound crackles?
crackles coming in on my side. So this is
Oh,
always one of
man.
those things that kind of messes us up with like StreamYards and stuff. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna see if I can just
Okay.
switch an input and come back.
my Bluetooth was jacked, and Catwoman had it, so.
And let's try that. And I'll have no idea if that's any better until someone says that's better or worse. So
You sound good to me.
okay,
I was gonna
cool.
say
We'll go with that.
for a while.
As long as we can have a chat,
Yeah.
who cares who's watching? After I said, like, oh, this, like, support your local content creator, but who cares who's watching?
So if you guys in the chat want to give us a thumbs up if it's no longer crackling.
And Catwoman, she's on the phone right now, so.
Yeah.
There was
And my screen still says 80%.
I was gonna stay at 80 for a while.
It's hilarious. I spent about an hour this afternoon trying to work out with a buddy. We used to do a book review podcast, and when Hangouts died, we're like, oh, let's get around. We're going to find another solution. We'll get around to it. Months and months have gone by where we still haven't found the easy way to do a group live stream. And so, I mean, like, I love to see, StreamYards coming up. There are these great options, but it still feels like we have the same troubleshooting problems every single time we try and set up a live stream. Like, oh, someone's mic doesn't work. Oh, all I hear is static. Oh, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Someone's like locked in place. So unfortunately, I don't feel like that's going to go away anytime soon. All of our favorite live stream YouTuber commentary videos are all going to start with, so let me tell you about all the technical issues we had getting the stream started.
So many tech woes.
Yeah. We always feel like it should be easier than it is, but it like apparently it's a really hard problem to solve that even Google couldn't figure it out. So we'll get there eventually.
Well, we got thumbs up.
Oh, good.
Right
on. Thanks, Mark. Oh,
and
Jason.
We actually have voicemails this week. Can you believe that, Catwoman? Since we ain't set up for it. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna set it up, and my screen is at 80%. I don't know. Windows is working extra hard to give me this update.
I was telling Juan about Anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And
we had a whole mini show. Off camera.
We did. We had a show without you.
It's okay. I deserve it.
Oh no, he hadn't heard of Anchor. I don't think.
My podcast setup is so old. I'm basically doing the same thing I was doing like 4 years ago to host and produce my show. So we were making the joke like over 4 years, I'm sure tech has progressed since when I started. So it's pretty silly.
Well, you can actually you can get money through Anchor too.
Ooh, well then you now have my interest. I'll check it out.
We got 59 cents right now, but it's cute,
It's 59 cents more than you had without it. So
right. It is cute because you get to see the analytics of who's watching you and what countries they're in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get a lot of that just because, like I said, I've got a pretty old school setup just based on old RSS feeds. So I should probably look at modernizing at some point. It's not a good look when I talk about advanced technologies and I'm not as well versed on that kind of stuff as I should be.
It's okay. We all have our moments. We get caught in a comfort zone.
It's like I just have too many other gadgety things and political things to talk about. So as long as it's still working, I'll probably keep running with the antiquated rig that I've got.
It's cheaper that way.
Right. It's also just time. Oh, so little time.
What is going on with you? Why are you smiling like that?
I was getting an incoming call, and then it disconnected the Bluetooth. So I'm just trying to. Sorry. Um,
This was another thing we were talking about too, because like your PC is going through an update right now. It bumped you out of being able to do the live stream, and this is one of the things that I've been, again, over the last 2 or 3 years, an obnoxious advocate for trying to do more stuff from our phones. Is that people are buying these ridiculously powerful pocket computers and then doing what? Checking Facebook, looking at Instagram. Like, no,
Facebook
we should
is
really
pretty
be looking.
intensive.
Yeah, well, we should really be looking to disrupt the use of other products, but then you still run into the issues of it's still a phone. If someone calls, it's gonna mess up what you're doing.
And it's like I put myself on do not disturb mode. It's like my phone doesn't understand what do not disturb means.
Right. Oh man, and like when you have like a different the volume slider, and then you whether or not I want my notifications to vibrate, and then I set a clock so I can try and get some sleep, but then I've got a green light one app if like our motion cameras go off. It getting to this Star Trek future takes a lot more customization and work than the whole notion of, well, you buy a tech product and it just works. You plug it in and it works. Like, I don't think we'll ever see that in my lifetime. And in fact, as tech becomes more organic, I think it's going to be more granular to set up, not less. But it should also be cooler stuff for us to do with it.
So are you saying that if you had the opportunity to be bionic so that you could live longer, you wouldn't take it?
Oh, plug me in. No, I mean, like,
Okay.
I want those more granular options, but I think it's also a future where the customization of that becomes very, very precious. I did a review on the Focals. We kind of take a certain tech market for granted. Like, you get a phone, you use a phone. If you want, you could sell that phone on Swappa. It doesn't matter. Anyone can access that phone the same way. But when you try and make a more biologically discrete interaction, there won't be a resale for that because it will have been made for you. So I put on these glasses and I can get like my notifications beamed directly into my eye, and I can do speech to text. It's awesome. But if I put them on someone else's face, it's not going to work. So, I'm ready, drill a hole in my skull and plug directly into my brain. I want that future. I want to be a cyborg, but any of the tech that we use to do that will be completely personal. It's going to be like all you. It's not like I'm going to have a neural implant, and then when I'm done with it, I could sell it to you. That'll have been my neural implant for my brain.
I'm so ready to be a cyborg. I just don't know if the real robots, the complete robots, are going to accept me. And so, I'll have to start at the bottom, be their servant for a little while. But even then, they're like, they can just do it themselves. So
this is why
I got devil's advocate on this. What about the people who don't like to keep their devices but 6 months? Like,
well, but that's just it. Is I think we've already hit a tipping point. What are you doing on your phone 6 months from now that you can't do today, and vice versa? What were you doing on your phone 6 months ago that now a phone of today can do? I think we've been kind of snowed on. not if you owned an LG G5. We've been kind of snowed.
It's Tech Fowler's thing of it's FOMO.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's just it. Is that we've been snowed on this notion of like, you have to overbuy for all of this processing power because you don't want to be stuck with a lesser than camera, but you can get an amazing camera experience in $300 to $400. Like, as that whole whoosh pop, you pull the phone out of your pocket and you snap a snapshotty shot, and it's HDR and crushed and colorful and vibrant, and it goes up on Instagram. That's attainable at $300. This notion of like, now we keep needing to be on a bleeding edge that never really fulfills better or more aggressive use, and that we've also conditioned the market to think, well, like, you shouldn't do things. I mean, it's a phone. Why would you do something with the phone when you should do something like that from a laptop or from a desktop? I mean, if you want advanced file management support, you don't buy an iPhone, you get an iPad. They need to be different, even though they're exactly the same product. It's just a bigger screen. It's that kind of conditioning that the market is extremely conservative. At the same time, they're being convinced that like $1,000 phone to do basic social media stuff slightly faster than the phone that came last year at $1,000 is somehow a reasonable position to have in the market. The entire philosophy on that is completely skewed. If you're coming to me to say like you want to render video on the go, I think there's a very good argument for spending $1,000 on a phone. If I look through your list of apps and what's really eating up battery on your device, and I see Instagram, Reddit, and camera, you're foolish for spending more than $500 on a phone. Like that's so easily fulfilled with way less.
I have the money right now to get the Note 10, but it's not in pink, so I'm still waiting.
See, it has nothing to do with the camera.
Priorities.
Yeah. I just want the pink one. And Samsung liked my comment when I told them that I'm still waiting for the Aura pink. So I think it's still coming.
I had to snatch that comment before it ran off the page.
Oh, hey.
Okay, what does it say?
Hey, David Burns, what's up?
Everyone acts like cameras from 3 years ago weren't amazing.
Well,
and
no,
that depends on the device too.
Well, but now we have a newer type of HDR computational night sight that is slightly less grainy than the Pixel 1 was for low light. So now your phone from 2 years ago is garbage, obviously. It's tough.
Yeah. What is Sneed saying?
It's very difficult to produce high-end content with a mid-range device. I tried. The Pixel 3 XL. It was not... Well, it was doable.
Oh, it was doable, but not effective and efficient. Yeah. So that to me becomes that transition point. There are very few people in my circles of family and friends that legitimately have this desire to push over into that more aggressive tier of use. A lot of people will scoff and kind of roll their eyes when I say, you should be looking at leaving your laptop at home when you're shopping these $1,000 plus devices. If your $1,000 investment in a phone is not enabling that, then you're really not getting your money's worth for that device. And Sneed's comment here is exactly on point. I have had very good experiences rendering 4K video on a Pixel 3a. Surprisingly capable device. Moving over to a OnePlus, oh man, it's so much better. It's so much more powerful. It's so much faster. You can keep so much more stuff on the device. And then that only goes up from there with like Pixel 4s and with LG V50s. To a degree, the Samsung devices this year are also very, very fast and capable. And you start looking at, does my phone have advanced cooling features? Well, a $400 phone isn't going to have that. But same thing, like a cheap Chromebook isn't going to have the same robust capabilities as a high-end Windows gaming machine. So that we need to start looking at phones the same way that we talk about laptops, or at least the same way we talk about cars. You know, like do you need a smart coupe? Do you need a sedan? Do you need a station wagon? Do you need an SUV? Do you need a crossover? Like, if you're not really looking at the use and you're just saying like, oh, well, this company's popular and everyone speaks iPhone, then you're not really addressing what that consumer might need for their cash.
Yeah, I absolutely love the A-line, and that's why I'm posting all these A comments. But I love the A-line of Samsung more so than
and look at how much more exciting the A-line has been this year than I feel the S and the Note lines have been.
Yeah.
Samsung is taking that mid-ranger more seriously because I think consumers are totally burnt out on the promises of revolutionary premium devices that are only really iteratively better than the phones we've had for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Especially when they say, oh, we've built it from the ground up. No, you didn't. You just looked at the last one and just slapped a couple of stuff on it and kept it moving. It's
in the same case. You just changed the button layout, so I'd have to buy a new case.
Exactly. So my twin daughters, they're 12. One of them has the S8 and then the other one has the Note 8. And they both like to do animation, which is Gadget. And they asked me to teach them how to do it. So I taught them how to do it all on their phone.
Nice.
Frame by frame by frame. I showed them how to take a screenshot of every movement and then use Adobe Clips to do it frame by frame by frame. After about 3 months, one of my daughters was like, hey, can I use Camtasia? And I was like, okay, sure, you could try it out. Okay. Then she was doing like stuff like making the hair wave around and so cool. all this cool stuff. But they can do it all from their phone.
Mhm.
It's just when you want to get to that like extra advanced level, that's when you need kind of like a, laptop or a PC or something like that. But
And
you could do it.
and often a lot of those considerations, I mean, obviously we start getting into like high-end production grade. Like I'm not trying to shoot a feature film from my
Yeah.
phone. I'm trying to produce YouTube content from my phone in a way that I think is accessible. And I tend to have a very punchy and a sort of a more editorial kind of style. So it's not fancy or super produced or cinematic in any way.
Yeah.
But that often those kinds of concerns are also situations where it might just be a question of ergonomics, where an S9 series phone or a Note 9 with DeX would probably free up some of the major issues of working from a phone just by providing you traditional mouse and keyboard support and a larger screen to work from. And once
Yeah.
we see that also push over, there's very little reason for me to travel with $1,000 thin Windows laptop. My phone is more powerful in more situations, and all I need is some type of laptop-like shell, which will be dramatically cheaper than carrying around $1,000 phone and $1,000 laptop to facilitate the same use. I don't need two operating systems. I just need the ergonomic keyboard, touchpad, and screen, and then the rest of it can be the brains from my phone.
Yeah. Also, when you're traveling too, your luggage is not always secure. So what happens when you lose that expensive laptop? Like
I mean, I did. I
you
mean, I
down for the
was literally,
count.
again, this is a little xenophobic, and I'm embarrassed to admit it, but that was one of the major considerations I had the first time I flew to China. It was I was
Hmm.
covering an Oppo launch, and I just don't know. I don't know what it's like to go through security in Shanghai. I don't know what it's like to travel to Shenzhen. I was that dumb American jumping on an airplane, and I didn't have any support with me. It was literally like, we'll pay for your ticket to come out to an Oppo manufacturing center. And so I did the entire thing on a Huawei P10. It was all
Nice.
shot. All of the voiceover was cut, watermarked, transitions, the advertising, all of it was done from a Huawei P10. And that was the only computer I traveled with. It was the only camera. It was the only microphone. It was the only audio recorder. It was the
Yeah.
whole thing. And like it was the highest compliment I think I'd ever gotten on Pocket Now was no one seemed to notice that it was much different than any of the other videos that I had produced on that channel. So that's when I kind of took this stuff more seriously. And now I'm probably about 70-30. About 70% of my content is still, edited and produced from my desktop rig because of those like work considerations, but increasingly 30% plus now mobile devices, because it's just you're immediate. It's so fast. You are cutting and editing in the moment that you've taken that video. It's really a profound shift in how we get work done.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's why I can't get rid of the note because of the pen. Like it's just got me.
It's
I
a
know
shame
you're
that
rolling your eyes.
Samsung's no. It's like I know I kind of cringed a little too. It's just a shame that Samsung is making us choose this year between pens and headphone jacks. Because
Yes.
the Note used to be the name Note meant everything. Was
Yeah.
the uncompromising peak Samsung experience, and now Note kind of means good and Note Plus means great, but you have to choose between a Note and an S this year if you want a headphone jack. It's very frustrating when you've got a supposedly professional grade device that can't plug into microphones or professional grade headsets.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
And not
it
all
feels
dongles
like
work with it too.
and again, like not supporting a pass-through dongle, you need a USB DAC dongle. Bluetooth isn't going to work for this because of the audio lag. I can't as easily connect microphones and import audio directly into the camera app. The stuff is these are considerations that people should be looking at when you look at a product like the Note.
Mm-hmm.
The Note is built on that rep. And I feel like when you see this Apple-like business transition, Samsung basically just copying Apple again, it's a disappointing turn. I expect more from them than this.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're just trying to make money at the end, and not just put out a great product. It used to be synonymous, but it's not anymore.
Well, but again, it's like I think Samsung gets a lot of credit for being this like counterculture brand. Like we make fun of Apple, but like almost all of their major business moves have been cribbed from Cupertino. And whenever they make one of these changes, they quietly pull a bunch of their YouTube videos to hide the fact that they used to make Apple for doing exactly the same thing that they're doing now. I don't understand how they get to keep that rep as being the anti-Apple when, oh no, we just bought AKG and Harman. We spent a lot of money on this audio brand. Better get rid of the headphone jack on our phones too, just like Apple did when they bought Beats. Womp womp. It's
not
the same process.
Anti-Apple, they're the Android Apple.
They're trying to be, and we shouldn't be upset that a corporation, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, is looking at how to maximize their profits. But we should also be intellectually honest about that. You're doing this by forcing an accessory purchase for the phone that you probably didn't need to do if you already had a decent pair of headphones. You know, like yeah, there are some conveniences. I love my collection of Bluetooth headphones, but there are times where you just can't get rid of the cable. You know, the cable will be superior, and having the option on a product like the Note should be the way that we do business. But if you make headphones painful to use, well, you just got to go out and buy some Galaxy Buds. Isn't that be so much easier for your $1,000 phone? Yeah. It's a difficult transition that we're going through.
Catwoman, did the Note 10 Plus come with a dongle? That's a question from the chat.
No, it did not come with a dongle. It does not come with a dongle. You have to buy it separately.
Yeah, Samsung immediately skipped the year. Yeah.
No, they made Apple moves. Okay.
Apple gave us 1 year of dongle in the box and then omitted it. Samsung just went straight to, well, Apple could do it, so we can too.
Yeah,
and that was it.
We're number one.
Right.
Well, Samsung had a developers conference today, and I'm just like, when are you gonna bring out this Galaxy Home speaker? I'm not gonna buy it, but yeah, but yeah, it's like, why did you come out with this, and then we've never heard from it again. And when people ask them, like, yeah, next keynote we're gonna bring it out. No, I think they destroyed them all.
It's just like Apple with that charging pad that never came out.
AirPower.
Yeah. See, I forgot what it was called. But yeah, it's the same deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to give a company. I mean, it's, you know, like, to be fair to the biggest corporation in technologies, but it is really difficult because I think, again, consumers are exhausted. Outside of the tech enthusiasts, I know a lot of people that this isn't fun for them. New gear, new phones, new speakers. I mean, I have to change my home living room setup. I'm going to have to get a smart TV. I'm going to have to get smart speakers. This stuff starts to get exhausting and expensive. And it is a very, like I was saying before, it's a very difficult transition that we face ourselves in, where we've been promising exciting, but I don't think these companies have lived up to it. And now I think it's starting to bite them in the butt for the consumers not willing to just jump on and spend money frivolously on exciting luxury products because they're tired and they're pretty sure this won't really be exciting. It'll probably be another headache that I need to set up, that my kids are going to break, or that it's not going to work like they said it would, or it won't be supported. And a year afterwards, they're going to tell me that the new speaker is really the one that gets all this stuff done. And so it's kind of a thankless job. Like, if you know the PR people involved, like, they're working their butts off because they're managing, you know, criticisms and skepticism on all sides. And they have to take their orders from the manufacturing arm of the company that's dictating what the future is going to be. And the manufacturing arm is working on designs that were made 3 years ago. So they're trying to anticipate what consumers might want 3 years into the future. So, I mean, the stuff gets really difficult, and it gets really
Or they
messy.
just over-deliver. They over-promise on what the product can actually deliver. Because for the longest time, everybody was taking their phones to the water, to the beach, to the pool, because that's what all the marketing was saying. Yeah, we go underwater. We scuba dive with our phones. Turns out you're not really supposed to. Who would have thought?
Well, but and also to David Burns's point here, the comment that's up, AirPower was an engineering nightmare. Doesn't that feel a lot like a marketing team dictating what Apple should be doing 3 years in the future, and the engineers responsible for making it going, this probably isn't possible? And so now you've got that inner corporate conflict that's playing out in public, and that's impossible to rein in this day and age. But what I still don't get is this like fervent need to be team fill in the blank, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
I came up in tech where my favorite companies were the companies I was allowed to criticize the harshest. And that the other companies that I had lower expectations of, they're like, oh, it's cool. They kind of made a nicer product. And you kind of make fun of Palm Pilot fanboys. Now it's kind of flipped where it's like this fervent need to defend your lifestyle choice in light of some rather poor manufacturing decisions. And if you criticize that in the hope that hopefully the manufacturer will do better, you're labeled a hater, which is what I've been going through with Apple fans and AirPods over the last, 24 hours of.
I saw the tweets and I was just like, I felt like they were just not understanding what you're saying. It's like, this is going to be $250 and they're giving you something mediocre. Things obviously, first of all, things that they should have done in the past. And then secondly, it's not a complete solution.
Well, so here's where I want to praise, right? So Apple is always late to the game. Apple's always late to the party. But we have an expectation that Apple will be late to the party and deliver something nice, deliver something polished. So my criticisms with AirPods Pro isn't the tech. We're finally getting an intraoral earbud solution with active noise cancellation and audio pass-through from Apple. I'm very disappointed that this is coming in at a price point at least $100 more than other decent Bluetooth active noise cancellation solutions, and probably lower sound quality, medium sound quality in the whole range of wireless options. $250 is going to be really expensive. But the biggest concern I have now is a product which still looks like it's completely disposable. As we're getting into like governments trying to legislate against planned obsolescence, for any of your viewers out there, how much do you really want politicians involved in the design of your gadgets? I think most of us would say not at all. Most of us would say we would want politicians completely separate from the consumerism experience, but that also means that these corporations need to police themselves. Having a product with a completely sealed battery that is 100% not maintenanceable in any way, shape, or form, and can actually be dangerous. If you try and open the casing on an AirPod, it's very easy to rupture that tiny little battery cell as you're trying to crack open the plastic casing, and then it's destroyed. You can't open that casing and not end up with a completely dead product. So when you see the design on the AirPod Pros, we all know the Apple tax. We all know that they're going to overcharge grossly for very basic functionality. But now there's still an environmental impact that very much bothers me when headphones are things that should last you forever. Headphones are things that I have 15-year-old Sennheisers that still sound phenomenal, that still sound amazing, and all I've had to do is replace the pads on the outer shell of the headphones, and that will never happen with Bluetooth. Bluetooth will never last as long, but true wireless is designed to wear out after a year of heavy use or 2 years of casual use. So are you really up for spending $125 a year just to be connected to some okay headphones? And then those headphones are likely just going to end up in a landfill. And I really want that to weigh a bit heavier on someone's consideration of the product. Galaxy Buds don't have that problem. You can replace the battery on Galaxy Buds. Creative have earbuds that last 14 hours on a single charge, have a case that can charge up the headphones twice over, and they published a white paper showing you how to crack open the battery case and the earbuds so you could replace the batteries in those too. That's where
awesome.
This market should be going. And Apple is a company that should be leading the way, but we're not looking to them as a market leader. We're looking at them as a profiteer of the consumer experience.
So let me ask you about that creative one, because now I have
questions.
For sure. You said it lasts 14 hours on a single charge.
Up to 14 hours on a single charge.
On a single charge. Okay. So is this a over the ear?
No. These are true wireless. The Creative Outlier Gold retail for $100. They're a little chunkier. They are like they look a little bit more like Galaxy Buds, that kind of fatter body, as opposed to like they sit on the ear. But they are intraoral. They have a smaller gasket than a full rubber ear tip. So some people might not find that comfortable, but that's kind of true of any earbud. Everyone's ears are different. And then they also use Creative's Super X-Fi spatial audio technology. So if you listen in the Creative app, it tries to manipulate the reverb on the earbud so it sounds like you're listening to speakers as opposed to having something shoved into your ear. My experiences with them, I would say I was able to get about 2 to 3 days of casual listening on a single charge before I had to put them back into the battery case. And like I said, like Creative has been in the computer audio business since the beginning of the computer audio business. You're not going to find $100. Yeah.
Whoa.
So, but again,
I'm
we
sure
need
you've done a video on it, so I gotta find it.
but again, we need consumers to sort of understand that just because Apple and Beats have super expensive options out in the market, that there aren't other solutions to consider. Helm Audio make great earbuds. One More, I love their neck bands, and their true wireless are pretty solid. There are so many wonderful solutions that'll run a half to like maybe even a third the price of the AirPod Pros. And just as you were holding up there and like showing like if you can get a good sale on the Beats, I'd take the Beats.
Yeah, we
were
talking about that before the stream when Catwoman was having problems.
I would take those over the AirPod Pros too.
I don't have to charge them like I charge the AirPods. So
when they said 4.5 hours, again, like if you listen heavy, you are going to destroy the batteries on the AirPod Pros at $250. That's silly. I mean, I know active noise cancellation takes a hit on battery life. I know audio pass-through with microphone modeling takes a hit on battery life. But there's also like just the actual consumer experience of plugging something into your ears. We have to be able to do better than 4
But
hours.
It's Pro. It's a Pro.
Well, again,
everything's a pro now.
The word pro means nothing in 2019. We have PlayStation Pros. You have a professional game console. Pro is dead. That's a dead term.
It stands for watch your profanities.
Profoundly more expensive, sure.
Yeah.
It's the best I could come up with on the spot.
Can you guys believe that I still have a blue screen on my computer?
Yeah,
I totally believe it. I think you're locked.
I think Windows killed my computer, and I don't want to unplug it. I don't want to unplug it because I don't want to do any damage.
Kilt it? You got a kilter on your computer?
Okay. Yeah, like a skirt.
It's the past tense of kill. Kilt.
So I would like to interrupt this portion to talk about something, since we have 29 people here and we want to use our platform for good. We have started a Autism Speaks fundraiser. The goal is $100. If I had my computer, I would have posted the link, but I'll make sure to post the link afterwards. Okay.
See if I can hunt it right quick.
Yeah. So we're not monetized or anything like that, but we do want to use our platform to direct people that if they feel really happy and they have the ability to give, please give to Autism Speaks. We'll provide the link on there, and our goal is $100.
Right on. Yeah, see if you can get that link during the show. And
I'm trying to get it up now.
I've put it also in our past 2 streams as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to those screens. Y'all don't have to get quiet because I'm looking for this link.
Okay.
Dramatic effect. It's just a link.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you very kindly, Kimmy.
But no, that is a terrific cause, and it's I did a little work with that organization for a documentary series.
Oh, cool.
3 years ago.
What was the documentary about?
My brain doesn't linearly put objects in history like it used to.
Yeah.
No, it was a series of interviews with like the crux was we'll get a bunch of famous people to talk, and that'll impress people, and hopefully they'll give more to charitable causes. But really, it was the family stories that far and away, while we were recording it, were just incredible to hear of people working with that organization. So I came away very impressed with how Autism Speaks ran their organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, is that it in the live chat?
Members. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tim. Yeah. So I do have some family members that have autism as well, and technology has helped them out a lot because especially with spatialness, like the over-the-ear headphones help them out a lot. So, you know, I have a nephew that, well, 2 of them, that has autism, and I was chilling with them, and I'm like, here's my over-the-ear headphones, here's my phone. I wasn't worried about it breaking or anything like that because it had like a Super Duty case, and she just chilled with the phone, and you know, it was just a really good time. Everybody was just able to have a good time.
Again, I'm always very excited when we can talk about tech as inclusion. I get very excited. You know, it's not implemented in a very exciting way, but I've got some family members where the notion of air and motion gestures, once they've matured just a little bit more, will be very exciting for how they have difficulties holding phones. You know, when we get into these new audio systems, it's like magic to me when you can see something like live transcription. Like you turn on one button on the Pixel 4 and it in real time on device transcribes every piece of human speech that plays through the speakers. And I have some hard of hearing relatives that they've never seen anything like that before. Like that just hasn't ever existed for them. And so that to me is what it gets so exciting about kind of tying together this tech community is if we make something and it helps someone with autism, or it helps someone with arthritis, or it helps someone who's hard of hearing or you know, has vision issues, that's good design that will actually improve the experience for everyone else. And that's why we really need to make sure in the tech enthusiasm circles that those people don't get left behind, because we get better stuff when things are built to be more accessible for all.
Yeah, and I mentioned on a previous podcast, my son has autism. I have a cousin with autism, and then my sister has autism. But my sister is far more severe than my son. So my son's higher functioning. He's going to graduate high school this year and hopefully get into like a trade and work, or even go to the community college. But as far as my sister, she won't ever function above maybe mentally 5 or 6, or maybe 6 or 7. She's not even holding a conversation with you. So,
Gotcha.
You know, so when we were looking for an organization, I was like, oh, she picked Autism Speaks. That's awesome. Because my Amazon Smile account is linked to Autism Speaks as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
But even for that level of activity, there is still a wonderful experience to be shared for her to be able to communicate and for her to be able to participate.
Oh yeah, they had her call.
Her to be engaged.
She does calls, and they have like, you know, it's all scripted, but it's like a conversation. Like she calls and speaks, and how are y'all doing and stuff like that. And I'm like, she probably doesn't even know what's going on with this conversation, but she can tell you what she needs, or make a way to show you what she needs. She learned sign language as a very small child when she was newborn. So she was potty trained in a day. The rest of us weren't. So, but her superpower, I put that comment up for a reason. Her superpower is smell. We all like sweets. Anything wrapped under the tree that was candy, cookies, baked, she opened those.
That's awesome.
Good for her.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So my son, I don't, it's funny. They say autistic kids don't have a sense of humor. My son is hilarious, but it just all depends.
I unfortunately, I don't know of any good smell technology coming in.
Well, she works. She has a job. She works in like a manufacturing plant. But yeah, they couldn't put her near candy and stuff because they were losing their product. Yeah.
You have to wait until everything's vacuum sealed, and she can't get to it. That's awesome. All right.
So Halloween is right around the corner.
I feel very underdressed for this podcast, by the way.
It's okay.
We'll still invite you back on. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I was planning on just getting something silly, like maybe a wacky hat, but I was out collecting the last couple of bits of my daughter's Halloween costume during lunch, so I wasn't able to do anything for me this year.
Do you still have the Nokia 9 view with the 8 cameras or something like that?
Yeah. It's
Pure
it's
View,
over on
right?
the shelf. The Pure View, the Nokia 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got your hat cleaned out too. See, I listened to the podcast this week. There's certain times I don't get to, but my whole trip home from Chicago, I listened to the podcast.
That's a pretty good inside one too. We spent longer than I intended to talking about toddler vomit on the podcast. So I'll just leave it there. We probably don't need to elaborate much more beyond that.
Hey, you had to do a good job. You were wearing the hat, so
it took a while though. But yeah, sorry. Not to derail the whole thing. Sorry, you were asking about the Nokia 9. Weird, creepy camera sensors.
I know you don't remember, but I'm gonna say it anyways. I want to see it with either like some cut up straws or pipe cleaner like a spider.
Oh, she wants you to dress it up.
That's a good idea. Because it is. I mean, it legitimately is the creepiest phone of 2019.
Yes. Yeah, it would be great to see it look like a spider.
I could probably build a decent little rig out of a Gorilla Pod and like a camera mount. So
yeah,
we could make that happen.
Speaking of tripods, my phone is dying. I will be right back.
This has been the story of the evening, right?
I feel like I broke your podcast. I'm so sorry.
We both had issues coming in, though. It's just she might have been a little more sideways, and
Oh, that was again for anyone watching. Like she came in like locked in landscape mode, and we both kind of went like confused dog to try and see.
And she missed it. She just came in us laughing, like, "What are you laughing at?"
I was like, you had to have been there, but you were there. You just didn't
know it.
Just didn't. So, Samsung, they had their developer conference. What I had a hard time.
The only thing I remember from that is the new fold that's gonna fold like a flip phone.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I was.
So don't get me wrong. I really want bendy, foldy screens to become a more accessible consumer technology. I'm just not sure phones are really going to be the hot device to put them on. I like the idea of bendy, wrappy displays that can go on wearable technology or in cars or in other maybe.
Tonight,
yeah, exactly. See, perfect. I like that. That looks cool. But making a phone more fragile to facilitate some type of extra mechanical bending, I just don't know that that's going to be the hot the hot feature that makes phones exciting again. Oh, remember the LG Flex? I've got my G Flex and my G Flex too. We can do like a whole one busted history museum of old phones if you want. The thing I liked about those experiments, and the same thing that Motorola was doing, was a commentary on durability. So the phone was easier to scratch, or the screen was easier to scratch, but they were nearly indestructible in drops. And you could like really flex that phone. You could bend that phone pretty hard and it would kind of snap back into shape. Which obviously, if you watch Jerry Rig Everything, we can't really do that with phones when they're made out of glass.
Not at all.
And that's what I'd love to see is like, if that technology were to go into making devices more durable and we could call that a premium feature, then great. But trying to tell me that I need an awkward Android tablet because Android tablets sell so well, that sort of folds into an awkward Android phone, and it's super fragile and it's super expensive, and it still doesn't have some of the convenience features that I would want, like a headphone jack, then I feel like we've lost the plot. I feel like this is exactly why consumers don't pay attention to us tech fans anymore.
I like the form factor on the Exxon M, and what is it, the G8, that new, those like solid fold out, fold in.
So I mean, like I've got my V50. And,
that too.
This is a happy compromise. Obviously, it's a compromise over having like a truly bendy display. But if the argument is I want 3 apps on a space in front of me to multitask all at the same time, then this is almost identical in terms of functionality and use. If part of the argument were I wanted to make a regular smartphone smaller, that could be more interesting. Like the what Motorola is trying to do with their return to the Razr, that could be kind of interesting. Making a clamshell, maybe something that's a little bit smaller than a makeup compact, and then expands into a regular smartphone-sized device.
Or that essential phone is, or what kind of ever phone that is. I think it's essential. The little tiny candy bar thing.
Yeah, the Universal Harmony remote phone. Like if you were to take that and make it bend in the middle, to me is a more compelling argument than I've got a super fragile tablet that kind of bends into a phone form factor. I'd really love to see premium options come in smaller. I miss the days of one thumb iPhones and Xperia compacts and Mighty Mouse devices. Like they weren't really hurting for specs. They were just smaller screens and they enjoyed a more abbreviated use. If you want a big, huge multimedia phone, great. But we don't really have a lot of options anymore for I'm walking through an airport and I just want to use one thumb to do everything without having to reposition the phone around in my hand. That kind of doesn't exist anymore. No. Like it's kind of a dead concept.
Yeah, I went through that yesterday.
We take the compromises for granted now, but like there are so many times where you're in the middle of doing something and you kind of have to stop and dedicate all of your visual and tactile attention to operating this one thing, where we used to be just a bit more flow. Like,
well, everything was smaller. I pulled out the Evo the other day and put it next to my phone, and it was just like they're little.
You remember when we got like a 4.5-inch diagonal screen, and like people's minds were melting. Who could carry a phone that large? A Galaxy Nexus? That phone's enormous, please. And now it's like like that's comically small. If you were to come out with a phone that size today, people would mock it for being tiny.
Yeah.
I miss having those options, even those like BlackBerry style options. Like I don't know if you remember the BlackBerry Curve from back in the day. But I mean, it was this tiny little nugget of a phone with a full QWERTY keyboard. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at that. That's absurdly small by today's standards. Yet we used to do so much work on those.
I've worn the keyboard. The keyboard is gone. Like the letters are gone on it.
I love it. So that's my wife's Bold was exactly like that. She was a BlackBerry girl through and through, and it was a sad day for her when her IT department issued an iPhone to replace it. She was so angry. Just how do you use this thing? How do you look at documents on it? I can't even do my spreadsheets on this. This is garbage. The battery life is I have to charge it every night. This is so dumb.
Oh, rest in peace, BBM.
She was so angry.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, like I feel like for all of our progress, those are the kinds of things that we don't realize we've been lobster potted. The heat on our water has been turned up little bit by little bit, and now, you know, like we don't realize that we've
I
given
see you,
up.
Catwoman. I was gonna say, I see you.
I'm on my computer. Yay!
Yay!
It didn't update. It actually gave me a different blue screen of death.
Yeah, all right.
And then it didn't update, and then it said reverting back or whatever, and I'm like, okay. Let's not update.
Wow.
Sweet. Well, we're glad to have you back. We were talking about how we're old and we like to wag our fist at kids on our lawn. So,
oh man, no, I don't do that.
right.
I'm the one that walks over there with the skateboard and says, "How do you do, fellow high schoolers?"
Oh wow. David Byrne said his first smartphone was an iPhone. Man.
Aw,
Wow.
David Burns.
That makes me feel old. That makes me feel real old.
What was your favorite actual smartphone? Because I came out of PDAs, so I didn't jump on Treos or any of like
I
the
love
HTC
Trios.
Angels.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't really. Well, no, that's not true. I did have a 6700. So one of those. You remember that chunky, that big, fat Windows Mobile sideways slider keyboard? That was my first.
I used it 24 hours and sold it. I didn't like it at all.
See, and I loved it. I was like, I'm playing Age of Empires on this 2.5-inch screen with my stylus poking into that terrible plastic screen.
I've got to
went
slide
all
this
in.
thing out for everything. Give me my keyboard on the screen. No. I did not keep it 48 hours.
I was the opposite. I was like, look at how much more screen real estate I have when I turn this sideways. 2.5-inch. No, it was 2.8. It was a 2.8-inch screen. And again, enormous on a phone. Oh my gosh.
But I did have some Palms. I didn't have the Pre though.
I never got so I was writing at a different tech outlet at the time, and the editor-in-chief refused to give up his Palm Pre, so I never got to review that. But I did review the HP Touchpad, which was their WebOS tablet just before they destroyed the entire Palm brand. And that was really sad. By the time I was done writing, I mean, from getting the tablet at launch to writing my first impressions, Palm as a company had already been killed by HP. Was so sad because the Pre had so many good ideas. It was just that first gen product. It needed another
the wireless charging and all that. Remember that? Oh man,
that smooth action on the keyboard. All of the gestures that we look for now, you know, swiping up, multitasking, pulling your notification shade, all done beautifully. They had some issues with their developer tools for getting applications written, but man, Palm was so ahead of the curve, and they never got any of the credit for all the things that we take for granted now.
Oh. Look at Catwoman. Catwoman's a Samsung fanatic though.
See, that's what's so sad. So Silverback, I have the Palm Pre in the box still. I pulled out my touchpad recently, and it's completely non-functional because so much of that was server side. So there aren't any servers for those products to communicate with. Like, I want one in my collection as a museum piece, but it like I can still pull out a Windows mobile phone and do some stuff on it and surprisingly get, you know, like a document written or a spreadsheet edited. Like, it's still a surprisingly functional computer. When we've moved all of these things to more like web-based apps and server-side support and authentication protocols like that, like it kind of makes our devices that extra little bit disposable that we won't really be able to drag them back out to take another look back. Again, it's not like we would, not like anyone's really dying to use a Palm Pre again, but it's just kind of sad to know that like it is proper dead. It's like gone. There's nothing you can do with that hardware anymore.
Well, there is kind of like a phone like that's out there right now. It's made by people in the UK. It's like the FX1 Pro.
Oh yeah,
I want it.
Yeah.
I was talking to Mr. Catwoman today about it. He says hi, by the way. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna buy this phone. And he's like, wait till Black Friday. And I'm like, I don't think in the UK they have Black Friday.
Yeah, I don't, and also again, I don't think the UK is super big on celebrating Thanksgiving America.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of, those colonials that separated from the United Kingdom. But I also don't think that that's going to be a boutique-y brand like that. Probably won't be playing the Black Friday game too hard.
I have to go on Gary. Gary the Fireman's coming. I'm not letting this go because he mentioned the StarTAC. And I remember the StarTAC that had the different colored dots. Like he was like, oh, red, blue, and green. I can have a colored screen phone.
The Motorola Star. I've never heard of that phone.
Or when you go through a mall and you'd see like all of the faceplates for those Motorola candy bars and the Nokia candy bars. Like I needed my Broncos, like a faceplate on there. It's so hilarious. That's a good point, LFA. Maybe Boxing Day. So if you look up during Boxing Day, it's every culture sort of has their consumerism day, like 11/11 or Boxing Day or Black Friday. Maybe they'll do something for a Boxing Day. That could work.
How long do I have to wait for Boxing Day?
She's on it now. It's my money and I want it now.
Exactly. It's just it has a full keyboard, and it's like there's no other phone out there like that right now.
Oh, you don't need to sell me on that. I'm on board. I love my my BlackBerry Key 2. What's the other one that I like to trot out occasionally? The Passport. Again, I'd love to see an Android phone in that form factor again. And I think it's actually one of the most successful things about like these dual screen solutions is when you can make the entire bottom screen a keyboard. But
it's still a screen though.
And no. I mean,
still make a lot
he
of
wants a physical keyboard.
I know. But what I'm saying is I think people have taken for granted, like I have a full screen to look at what I'm typing and more space to type it out on.
Exania?
Because I know like people would make fun of me using the Key 2, and you're like, oh yeah, but you have less screen. And like, not when you pull up the keyboard. When you pull up the keyboard, it takes up screen, but not on my phone. The whole screen
is a screen.
It's dedicated to
Samsung used to have this case where you would put it.
You would slot it into the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, but the only thing that sucked about it is that when you would take it off, it would default to your Samsung keyboard. And I'm like, I was using Gboard. Stop doing that to me.
Yeah, LG's got the same problem with the dual screen. The separating so that your one display is your display and the other display is a keyboard only works on their built-in keyboard app.
Oh, why do they?
Well, but a part of it's just Gboard's got to get smarter. If Google is going to say we can make folding phones happen, then Google needs to get after making their apps more resolution aware. And then when that happens, Gboard will
does Gboard have a problem with that though? I haven't seen any problems.
Well, because Gboard is tied to the app. So when you open up a text field in an app, Gboard doesn't know that you've got a second screen that it can jump over to. So Google needs to
So it just sits on top of?
Yeah. So when I use Gboard on, I don't have the second screen on. Let me turn the second screen on. So like, if I tap on that to pull up search, come on, Firefox, don't make me look dumb right now. You're making me look silly. There. So this is the Samsung keyboard, but Gboard just stays on the one screen. So when I flip it, now you're not making me look good, LG.
Oh, we're on TV. Okay.
So when I flip it, that's the LG keyboard knows to go down to the second screen. Gboard is just going to stay up on that second display. It's not going to know that there's extra real estate for it to take advantage of.
Wow.
Once Google gets after this initiative, because Android 10 is supposed to bring this extra functionality of being more resolution aware, better support for folding and bending phones and stuff like that. all of the apps need to catch up too. So it's not just the operating system, it's all of the services that need to play that out also. Because I think there would also be a benefit, like a more tablet style interface for Gmail, taking advantage of 2 panels. Microsoft is going to be pushing a lot of that once the Surface phone comes out. You know, we know that these things are going to be pushed. It's just, it's a huge bucket of individual little services that all need to have the little light bulb clicked on.
I think they just need to refine stuff. A lot of these companies, they come out with new stuff, but they don't really refine it afterwards. Like today at the conference, they were talking about the 3D scanner. The 3D scanner still doesn't work on my husband's Note 10. Like,
and again, I mean, we're talking about technology that an Xperia 1 was able to do on a fairly regular camera sensor 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You know, there really shouldn't be any excuse for not getting something like that to work if you're going to position it as a feature that that you're kind of selling the phone off of. You know, a fun feature like that. I mean, at least it's not like core functionality, like your in-display fingerprint sensor being easily tricked by a gel screen protector. At least Samsung doesn't have that problem.
When you were talking about it, I'm like, oh snap!
Oh, I guess
So-
I
so-
got one for you, Juan.
Ooh, you want to know what kind of IEMs I'm wearing? I would love to talk about in-ear monitors.
Well, that's what I should
These.
say.
So I am currently wearing Mi Audio MX3s. These are the triple drivers. They've got a presence peak in the mids because I record a lot of human speech voiceover. I'm 20 years working in commercial voiceover. And Mi Audio was kind enough to help me set up molds. So they are custom molded to my ear. Apologies if you guys catch. You know, let's just kind of wipe that off a little bit first. So yeah, they took a scan using this like crazy optical scanner and they shoved it in my ear and they were able to make these custom molds. And we got them done for my wife, and she doesn't do anything in recording. She's not an audiophile. She really doesn't care about audio tech until now, because she's able to wear headphones that don't hurt her ears. She's hearing things in her music that she's never heard before because she's always had to have crappy sport buds that don't really fit in her ears. So all in, I think the molds are around 150. And then they fit to the Mi Audio drivers. And so the Mi Audio drivers start at like $50. So at 200, you can have custom molded earbuds that are biologically fit to your skull. It's pretty crazy because that used to be a much more expensive and a much more labor intensive process to get that done.
I have a question. Did your wife see the video when you posted it about her? Like,
oh yeah, no, I got the wife's okay to post it.
Okay, no, because when you posted that clip of that guy slapping the plate off her hand, I'm like, ah! she must have a sense of humor about herself.
No, I love my wife. She's definitely got a sense of humor about what she does, but she was the best stage manager I ever worked for in college, and she's up until now, because she works for a video game publisher. She's one of the best producers I've ever collaborated with on any of the projects that we've done. So that clip was from a movie review show that we did years ago. And it was just hilarious because the guest we had on is an actor by the name of Darren Norris. He was in Veronica Mars. I think he's one of the voices in The Fairly Odd Parents. Just if you look up his IMDb, he's this like amazing character actor. And we brought him on to be like douchebag McGee Hollywood presenter guy. And he played it so well. And he was just being this total jerk in all of these scenes. And the best one is my wife goes up to give him a bagel and he slaps it out of her hand and she kind of like tenses up. Just again, like I really miss doing that movie review show. So we keep talking like maybe we'll revive it. Maybe we'll bring it back. But it's, we're all busy now. So that's the gig.
I know, because not only you have your YouTube channel, but then you also do stuff with Newegg. As well.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be going down tomorrow to shoot some stuff. Anyway, we've got the Intel launch just happened for their new Intel trying to compete against AMD's recent onslaught of Ryzen products. And I mean, I think they've got some interesting counter CPUs. Like it should be a better fight than where they were at the beginning of the year. But this is exactly the exciting thing about competition, where for years AMD was irrelevant to the conversation about desktops and laptops, and now they've got some good solutions. We're finally seeing Intel compete with price, AMD compete with newer technologies. So we've got some fun videos coming out, just talking about the state of building your own gaming PC or workstation.
AMD were the ones that came out with Ryzen, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's always been this weird, like, AMD does something cool, and then a year later Intel responds, and then AMD is just gone for like 5 or 6 years until they can kind of pick themselves back up and fight again. This is the first time where I think we've seen AMD with a more consistent long-term strategy for making great desktop hardware. And it's coming at a time where Intel just had a little bit of a gap in their manufacturing. So the timing is just perfect for a good fight. And we're already seeing it. We're seeing Intel processors that would have been much, much more expensive now dropping in price, or they're doing a better job of binning their chips so you can get these great overclocking gaming processors. That's what's exciting, is seeing Intel isn't just able to steamroller over the market. They are actually needing to compete for the first time in a while. So
that's good, because I remember for the longest time, all these processors were so expensive because of the Bitcoin mining.
Oh yeah.
And all of these people were willing to pay that expensive price because they're like, Bitcoin is the future, or whatever new type of Bitcoin is out there. And that has kind of slowed down a bit, even though there was that hike. Was it like 3 months ago or something like that? Or like it was worth what?
Yeah, and so the volatility in the market made all of that a little less attractive. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It was about 2 years ago where like you couldn't buy a graphics card if you wanted to. Yeah, and they were all grossly overpriced. And then the bottom fell out hard. So Nvidia took a bad hit on all of that too. But again, that's what makes tech, the drama of technology, kind of interesting, is watching those market forces at play, getting really frustrated because RAM pricing was through the roof, and solid state storage pricing was kind of high, and GPUs were just untouchable. Like you couldn't buy something if you wanted to. CPUs were similarly like getting priced out of the general consumer market. And now we've kind of equalized. And just as we equalized out of the crypto market kind of cratering, AMD hits with this amazing Ryzen 2. And then Threadripper comes out. And then some of their GPUs are really great in the entry and mid-range. And NVIDIA is trying to fight on price. And then Intel comes back with a new Core i9 just as Ryzen 3 comes out. I mean, like, the improvements in the price performance ratio, we're in like a sort of a second renaissance of DIY PC building. Yeah. That's obviously not what most consumers are going to do. But if you care about this stuff, the fight hasn't been exciting like this for a really long time.
Yeah, I'm excited that this happened. There's this quote that I've been hearing lately, and it's so true. It says, "Power does not corrupt. Power reveals." It's like that was going to be their game all along. They were just waiting to have that duopoly or monopoly or whatever. So, yeah.
Well, and I mean, to that credit, exactly. So we were talking about a duopoly, right? AMD versus Intel, obviously the only games in town. If you're a fan of mobile, I think Intel and AMD both have huge blinders on, huge gaps in their market, because mobile is going to walk in and disrupt a significant amount of what we usually look towards for an Intel solution or for an AMD solution. Again, I point to video rendering as one of the benchmarks I put a phone through, because I think it's really hard work for any processor to do. And right now, at a sort of a YouTube friendly quality, phones are faster than laptops at getting your video rendered. I don't think Intel and AMD have solutions in x86 that are going to be able to compete against savvy consumers over the next 3 years looking at ARM. We know Windows is going to go to ARM. We know Microsoft is looking at Windows on ARM. We know Apple is trying to push more consumers from laptops to iPads, and that they have way more control over an A-series processor than they do over Intel processors for building their own products. I think we're going to see over the next 3 to 5 years a pretty big hurt put on the traditional laptop market if AMD and Intel can't counter with better, lower power, lower energy consuming, but still high horsepower types of products. Yeah. And again, that's exciting. We should want that. We shouldn't want two companies dictating all of the computing experience that we have access to. Having other options, Qualcomm, Apple, Kieran's, I mean, even Helios. There's something to be said for someone coming into the space and being able to disrupt. That's what should be getting us excited about where competition could lead the future of technology.
Yeah, that also reminded me of what you were talking about this week about the rendering test that you did with the Pixel 3. Yeah. And even though it had lower benchmarks than what was it, the One Plus?
The Pixel.
No, 4, the LG.
I mean, any of them. The Pixel 4 has all the worst synthetic benchmarks of any Snapdragon 855 I've reviewed this year. It scores the worst by at least 15%.
Yeah.
Yet, once you actually throw a real world workload on one of those phones, Google's ability to optimize file system and move data from storage through RAM through the CPU and onto your screen is second to none. So the only place where the Pixel 4 I think starts to really fall behind is in really, really heavy graphics loads. So when I'm gaming hard on a Pixel 4 XL, it starts to chug sooner than phones like the OnePlus 7 Pro or the LG V50 or any of the larger Samsungs or your ROG. Definitely, because holding up the ROG is a perfect example of what we should be talking about. Not only does it have that faster processor, because the OnePlus 7T has the 855 Plus, it has better cooling hardware. It gets heat away from the CPU and from the battery a little more efficiently, which means you can sustain performance longer. And that's where the Pixel 4 starts to run into some issues with the GPU performance in my limited benchmarking tests. Yeah. But when it comes to running something through the CPU, that file system advantage is insane. I've never seen anything that fast on Android before. And it's another, like, if you're just looking at synthetic benchmarks, you have absolutely not seen what that phone is capable of doing.
So basically it was like, works different than the simulation.
Well, and again, I feel like it's very easy to optimize a couple pieces of your hardware or your software build to make synthetic benchmarks look better. And we've seen every company do that. In fact, Samsung has just recently settled a class action lawsuit about the Galaxy S4 gaming benchmarks back in the day. OnePlus has regularly been shown to enable a higher performance tier when it detects that a benchmark is being run. But you're not going to see that when you, as a consumer, run your phone through some kind of heavier workload. Shoot some 4K video, put it into KineMaster or Power Director, and just see for yourself, like, how quickly can I chop up something like that? That's a very aggressive workload that uses storage, RAM, and the CPU. I mean, it's using the whole phone to try and produce a piece of content. And I think it's a pretty good real world test of what it is that we should expect from these claims of 20% better performance, 15% better performance, and almost never pans out. Even Apple's claims of blue bar graph bigger than gray bar graph, in reality, if we look at, real world workloads, the real performance benefit going from an iPhone XS to an iPhone 11 is maybe 5%, maybe 10%, depending on whether or not they're using more neural AI machine learning stuff. Not what they were showing with like a bar graph showing 25% longer line, better performance. That never really materialized for your super expensive iPhone Pros.
When I installed KineMaster, it says on there like depending on your processing speeds and things like that, you'll get certain different amount of layers that you can have on it. So when I put it on my Note 9 and it was like it could only handle 2 layers. I'm like,
no. So
it can only handle 2.
I don't know. I honestly don't know if it's KineMaster or KineMaster, but they are so much slower at updating their app than Power Director. It's also the thing that bugs me about Adobe is glacially slow at adding support for newer phones. And KineMaster is kind of the same way. There's nothing holding back a Galaxy S8 from rendering really high quality 4K 60 frame per second video, except for them enabling it in their app. And they have to do it manually phone by phone. But the folks over at Power Director, every time I've emailed them, like, hey, I just got the OnePlus 7 Pro and it's not supporting 4K 60, like literally the next week. They've put out an update to enable that. And also like, oh, and by the way, we improved your green screen so you can chroma key better on your phone. You're like, cool. Thanks, guys. That's really helpful. I think I've gone back to Snapdragon 821s with 4K video rendering support, where KineMaster, they won't even enable that on a phone from last year. So even though KineMaster's rendering engine is a little bit faster, like it is, like I can shave another 15% off of a render on a Snapdragon 855 using KineMaster, I still stick with Power Director just because they've offered broader support for more devices and they've updated their app. I mean, their maintenance updates are phenomenal. They just changed their preview engine, so everything's smoother as you're scrubbing through your timeline. That just came in the 6.0 update. They've enabled additional audio tracks, better support for video, multi-layered video tracks. Their ability to keep that app up to date when Cyberlink is not one of the biggest names in content creation, and Android is not the bigger platform for making things on your phone. I would say Apple definitely has more visibility there. But their mobile app developers deserve a ton of credit for making a really premium experience for a phone.
Montana has a question for you.
Oh, what frames per second do I shoot my videos in? I shoot 4K 60. I don't always render 4K 60, but I always shoot the top quality I can from any camera that I use. And that also gives me the ability to do something like slow something down. So if I shoot 4K 60, but I'm rendering to 30 frames per second, I can do easier half speed video by timeline stretching whatever I shoot. So I have a humongous NOS under my desk right now, terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of storage, just so I can archive ridiculous video quality from my sort of dopey looking editorial videos.
My computer just tried to shut down on me. It was like, I just got the update.
Of course it did.
Now it asked me. The last time it didn't. It's just like,
oh yeah, it got me during a stream one time too.
Windows is so aggressive. My goodness.
But again, I mean, like that's kind of the thing that we're walking into. Like, I don't have any expectation that my parents are going to want to shoot 4K 60 video, right? Like my dad barely uses the camera on his phone, but he still wants a nice phone. It's easy to kind of get stuck deep in the weeds and think, oh, well, you know, if this phone doesn't have this one feature, then it's a deal breaker. But if we're going to spend this kind of money on a device, that's the type of educational message that I hope us in the tech community can help spread.
What phones are your parents carrying now?
So my dad is now using a Galaxy S8 because he lost his Pixel 2 and he had like a weird Gadget insurance thing on it that the only phone they would replace it with was the Galaxy S8. He loved his Pixel 2. He hates his Galaxy S8. My mom is currently on a OnePlus 6T. And then the rest of my family, I've been slowly moving them over into mid-rangers. My brother is on an older Honor. My sister and her husband are on Pixel 3As. I have a cousin who refuses to give up her iPhone SE because I keep saying nice things about the iPhone SE. There's a really wide spread in my family right now of different manufacturers and different phones. So
I'm the only black sheep. My dad's on a V30, and my my mom is on a iPhone 7 Plus.
Actually, being on a V30 is kind of like off the reservation these days too. I keep talking them up, but we know LG's not getting as much love as they used to. So,
well, he hates it. He came from Samsung, and he's just like, "Oh, it's terrible!" Like the updates and everything. So,
yeah,
he's ready to go back.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
He'd be better with an A line. He would, because he's not going to use the cameras.
And that's I think what's critical is I don't think Samsung really should get much more credit for software updates than LG. Like,
right,
they're a little bit more consistent and they're a little bit faster, but over the last 2 years, we've seen them gut some significant features with every operating system update.
All right, are you grabbing your chest over here, Catwoman? Are you okay?
Yeah, you guys are amazing. We already met the goal, the fundraising goal.
Woo!
I'm gonna share my screen right now. Oh my gosh.
Look at that.
You guys are so awesome.
Check that community action out. I even go back to check. Hold on. 135. I'm gonna say let's see if we can get that to 200. TK,
wow.
David Burns, Lori.
Oh, you guys are so amazing. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna keep my glasses on right now. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh. Thank you. You guys are so awesome. This goes to a great cause to help out people with autism. And they do a lot of work. Like they reach out. Kimmy has had experience with them. You guys are going to make people's day, people's lives. Thank you so much for donating.
We can get this up to 200. Come on.
So Grant S., Sean Williams, David Burns, TK.
Mike said repost the link.
Oh, refresh?
Repost the link.
Repost the link? Okay. All right, I just put it in the chat. Thank you, guys. You guys are so awesome.
This is absolutely a worth it cause. And sorry, PayPal is going really slow.
Okay.
I'm always like super anxious about, oh no, dead air on a podcast, but I'm trying to make this.
Oh no, it's okay.
There we go.
You're good. You're good. We're just kind of speechless right now. We're like, oh, probably we'll get there in a week or something, you know?
Yeah. I can pay attention again. Oh, but sorry. So yeah, I mean, this commentary on things like software versus hardware versus support. A lot of this is more relative than I think we're really willing to give companies credit for. I think OnePlus is going to have a challenging year next year because they've put out 8 phones this year and they've never had to manage that kind of support. And so I hope that they can live up to the reputation that they've built for having incredible software support. But we're already getting word. If you got a OnePlus 7 Pro 5G, you probably won't be getting significant software updates until early 2020. This stuff is difficult and it is complicated and it takes a long time for a company to correct if they've fallen behind. It's easy for a company to fall behind if they get too ambitious with the number of devices that they put out. And to me, it's disappointing when a company disables things to facilitate a software update. So like if you had a Note 9, I'm actually kind of surprised that there wasn't, even some grumblings of like a class action lawsuit for getting rid of advanced camera features. That would have been a primary usage for me on a Note 9, that if I had bought that device and then updated and then gotten my One UI, but then they gutted all of my manual video controls, would have left me in the lurch as to what to do with that phone. So that's
I was surprised people were not sending them like the SpongeBob meme, like do what you can. You can't.
Right. But again, it's like because Samsung is super popular, I saw a lot of people just like, oh, well, lots of people didn't use those features. So you get used to it and it's no big deal. And there are other apps and blah, 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 blah. That to me would have been an upsetting turn. It would be like I bought an LG and I have this amazing audio processing on the headphones and then they update it and then they disable the quad DAC. You know, like that would fundamentally break one of the main reasons why I wanted to get this phone. They're doing it again. I was
actually listening to something on. I was playing a video game on the LG V40, and I thought there was a ghost in my room because it was like throwing sound this way, but then also this way, and I'm like. I was like, whoa, I'm getting kind of dizzy. So I went in and I'm like, is there a Dolby Atmos thing that could like balance the sound out? And I couldn't find it. And then I'm like, I just put the
and the opposite problem I'd hit too, where if you had that DTS 3D on, it gets pretty crazy, like what it starts to do with acoustic modeling on that.
It was loud though. Oh, it was loud. But then I found out that if I just put my my finger over the speaker, the in-ear speaker.
Actually had to block out his finger.
Yeah, so that way, because it was throwing me off. I was like, this is gonna get me kind of dizzy. And then the sound was only coming out from the bottom, and I'm like, okay, this sounds way better.
That's hilarious. But again, it's easy, I think, to kind of pick on a company. I like taking up the cause of underdogs. I had a blast spending time with the Sony Xperia 1. Is that a phone that I think is going to be a broadly recommended consumer option? No. But there is something so interesting about that device that there is a consumer out there who's probably going to miss the exact right fit for them because we talk about these devices as winners or losers. LG is that phone is perfect for?
Instagrammers, because when they go live, they can see more of the chat and stuff like that. And then also when YouTubers go live too, you can see more of the chat while you're typing.
It's a silly reason to buy a phone, but even when I'm just scrubbing through Reddit, like you see so much on the screen as you're scrolling, that vertical scroll that we just take for granted in other apps. And we also know that Samsung is probably going to go to a 20:9 aspect ratio for the Galaxy S11. And we're going to act like, oh, well, yeah, that's the right screen size. When Sony was over here doing 21:9, oh, that's too tall. That's too tall and too skinny.
No, when I first heard about the 21:9, I was like, I want the Tally. That's what I go, the Tally, it's great. But it needs a pen. Everything needs a pen.
So, I mean, again, it's so funny. Like we kind of get stuck in, like, I need a headphone jack. And right now that means, like, for my personal daily driver phone, there's like one phone I can use now that still has a headphone jack on it. It's interesting.
To interrupt y'all, I sent the money that TK personally sent me. I sent that, and we're at 225 now. So,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
I'm totally taking 17% credit for helping you bump up.
Yeah, definitely. You people.
No, but seriously, congratulations, and again, a phenomenal cause to be supporting in a live stream. So, I will toast something fancy when I'm off air and I can crack open the bourbon.
I understand it, and it's during the week too.
Awesome.
Right.
Look at Mike. Mike's like,
so beautiful to look at. Thank you, everyone.
Let's go for 300.
You just keep raising the stakes.
Juan said 200 and Mike said 3. So,
well, I was like, just get it to 200, and I didn't. Yeah,
I see why you did that.
I undershot. So,
yeah, if it was me at the bottom, I wouldn't care. But because we're both hosts, it puts him at the bottom. I wish it didn't do that. I wish we could just set people.
Now, I am a guest on your show. Right?
You are our special guest.
Yes. Our first special guest.
We appreciate you coming on here. When you were like, yeah, sure. I was like,
I got to retweet what Mike just tweeted out here. So hold on. I've got to be distracted for one more second here. They just smashed their goal for
TK
what?
says
Do they have
275 now. Is it 275 now?
Yeah, 275.
Oh my God.
275.
The only reason, tell them why we chose 100. We were like 100 and something views after the stream ended, our last stream.
Yes.
So we were like, if every person donated $1, we could get to 100.
Yeah.
Okay, and retweet.
It's at 300. El Jefe says at 300.
It still says 275 for me. Let me refresh it.
So proud of you. This is crazy fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, still at 275.
Okay.
So special thanks to Grant S., Thomas Kelly, Tana Solet, Sean Williams, Mike Thomas, David Burns, TK, Two Phones, El Jefe, Lori, and Juan Bagnell. Appreciate you.
I'm seeing 300.
What? Tekken Mike is over here. Can we get to 400?
I'm super proud of you. This is awesome.
Thanks.
I feel like we're so young in the game too.
Sites to do it, and then some of them were like, "Okay, you could do the fundraiser with us, but you need to give us 40%." I'm like,
"What?"
Yeah, all these different fundraisers. I'm like, let me go directly to the site, see what they got going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, just put your name in, and
yeah, definitely, definitely the better play. Yeah. Way better play.
40%.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. I was like, well, I mean, if it's 100, just give them like $40,
Nah, and again, like, existing on the internet now, we're so much better equipped to cut out middlemen for stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I was really surprised about that there was any kind of cut. I looked at 3 other websites and I was like, okay, that's weird. But yeah, just go directly to them. And
Steve DeRoche. That's not how you pronounce his name. He's going to get mad.
Oh, we're putting the fun and fundraiser. I love puns. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, she's very punny.
Punlarious.
When I have a couple of drinks, I'm punny.
Oh, here's Mike with more goals. 18 more subs to 200.
So I have a question for you, Juan.
Yeah, what's up?
So did your daughter try to take the earbuds away from your wife because it had the butterfly?
No, she didn't. Actually, my wife went like hyper protective because what we ended up spending on my wife's headphones was close to 300. So they weren't offered up as playthings for my daughter.
Right.
But what my daughter has started getting into is like, we've got a couple just inexpensive Bluetooth headsets. And then we also got a Puro sound headset. It's a small form factor Bluetooth headset for kids. And so she doesn't just get to play with it whenever she wants, but she now sort of understands that like there are some audio things that are okay for her to play with. And then there are some audio things that stay locked in a box that she's not allowed to play with. Really, we're trying to keep her from just like dumbly consuming video and stuff, but she sort of gets like, we'll put music on a Bluetooth speaker in the living room and then it's dance party time, or we'll watch some music videos and she'll try and mimic the choreography. Everything sort of has a slightly more activity based edge to it than just, hey, sit here and stare at the screen, kid. So we're trying to make things a bit more active than that. But my wife, like, she went crazy for those earbuds, and now she actually has like she kind of snuck out. I have Bear Dynamic Bluetooth headphones that are more expensive than they probably should be, but I really like them. And she sort of snuck those out to cook the other night. And it's like, wait a minute, those are my BDs. Where'd you get those? She was like, yeah, but
did those
really
fit
nice.
Snugly in her ear?
Well, no, they're on their over ear, the Bear Dynamic.
Oh, okay, they were over the ear. Okay.
And so it did seem to spark something. Like, again, having access to a nicer solution just for earbuds has kind of woken up oh, well, I could also have nicer cans, and my husband has an office full of stuff that I could go and play with. And so now she is where she didn't used to care about that stuff before.
So I have a weird question. Are
Okay,
you?
I love weird questions.
Are you one of those types of people that are like, you should not clean your ears because we need earwax?
They naturally clean themselves.
Yeah.
No. So I okay. So to be horrifically gross and to share too much information, I have psoriasis. And so that's one of the reasons why I wear hats so often is when I have a flare up, it's all of this right here. The entire top strip of my forehead will just become scar tissue. But one of the first places that a flare up will manifest is around my ears, and that scarring will go into the ear canal. So not only do I produce wax, I also have like scabs that can form in the ear. So I have a very different perspective on trying to keep all that stuff clean. And a lot of it also comes down to comfort. So if you build stuff up in there, speak to an audiologist first. But I totally understand that those folks like, I need stuff out of my ears because I'll get gunked up and I literally will not be able to hear. There's so much extra buildup in there. So again, it's not so much, I don't think people shouldn't clean their ears. It's just, you can very easily do damage in there if you're not careful. And so having a consultation with an audiologist or even just a general practitioner who can shove an otoscope into your ear and just look around will at least give you a better baseline for what you should be doing and how you should be taking care of your ear health. I spend way too much time with things in my ear that can also culture bacteria. You know, it's a warm, moist environment that gets kind of goopy in there. Like stuff gets gross when we add technology to the orifices on our person. It's nice having a doctor back up just some good do's and don'ts and making it tailored, you know, not just generically asking for advice, but someone who's really looking in there to say, hey, I'm seeing inflammation. Maybe don't shove something in there today. You know,
so you're not team nice. Q-tip?
I'm super careful about stuff like that. I will run Q-tips around just the sort of the outer bend of my ear.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a great idea to be jamming past the first bend of the ear with anything. I'm really hoping there was this, someone put out like a concept design for this really, really soft drill shape that you could use that would kind of like siphon stuff out of the ear. I'm really hoping something like that can make it to market. But again, it's got to pass a lot of...
sucks?
I don't like applying pressure to the ear.
Okay.
Again, your ability to hear is based on your ability to finely detect vibrations in air.
Yeah.
And so using something like a siphon or liquid or some of the semi-pressurized bottles that you can kind of spray stuff into your ear, that can all affect your ability to detect those vibrations. The tympanic membrane is super sensitive. The eardrum is super sensitive. It is this amazing biological adaptation for us to be able to detect sound.
But it feels so good when you put a Q-tip in it. It does. Like
I'm not going to tell you not to.
How you put that in there? Yeah.
I'm not going to say no. But if you find that that's one of those things, like you kind of get into cleaning on a very, very regular schedule, I would very much recommend that you chat with at least a GP to take a look in there and see, and then also just to kind of come up with a maintenance plan for how or why it, you know, you're digging in there as often as you are. But again, be very careful.
David Burns.
Pay very close attention. Sucked it out with a vacuum cleaner. Oh, it gives me like my butt just puckered. I can't. Yeah. That sounds like, again, I've made so much of my living off of my ears that the notion of messing around in there with pressure is really scary to me. So
yeah,
I'm now like fiddling with like,
sorry,
I gotta protect I'm gonna jam these in here and protect my ears from vacuum cleaners.
Yeah. I watched a video where somebody did like a graphic where it explained how it is that your ears listen and send the signals to your
Yeah.
brain, and it's like totally through vibration. I thought that was so cool.
Well, and that's why, like, I don't feel these topics have gotten enough love in the tech community. We're 10 years into some very disturbing trends of hearing loss, which coincide almost directly, like, as we've seen the rise of the smartphone, as we've seen the popularity of like MP3 players and iPods into that smartphone transition, we have been seeing almost the same types of curves in hearing loss, and not just hearing loss in adults, but hearing loss in kids. And we're just now starting to examine the ramifications of things like behavioral issues. Yeah. If you're a parent and you're putting headphones on your kids too early, they might be missing out on very important auditory and interactive social experiences because you're blocking them from sharing some of those experiences. So not even just hearing damage, which they're probably doing if they're listening too loud for too long, but then also behavioral and growth experiences that they might be being blocked from. We don't take our ears seriously enough. Yeah. And it's unfortunate, because I think we're going to start reaping the costs of that over the next 10 years, as 30-year-olds are probably in line for hearing aids that they probably wouldn't have needed if we had been taking our hearing health more seriously. And hearing aids usually aren't covered by insurance. So you're probably looking at around $2,000 per ear for something decent in this day and age.
That's part of my son's sensory issues with his autism, like loud noises. So literally when we go to the movie theaters, he wears the headphones like you would wear at a shooting range.
I have to. I know this is, I look like such a douchebag, but I always have a pair of earbuds in my bag or in a back pocket, or
he likes them over the head. It makes him feel better or whatever, so that's fine. But he just looks like he's headed to the shooting range and he has his headphones on. Totally.
No, but do that. I mean, I wish more adults were doing that. We went to Disneyland for my daughter's 4th birthday, and they did this like little kid concert with Vampirina and the Mickey Roadster Racers. And I felt terrible because I had left her Bluetooth headphones in a bag. It was so loud. That little concert hall was just so screamingly loud. And I'm putting in earbuds and I look like a jerk. Like, I'm supposed to be having this experience with my kid at Disneyland and I'm listening to something else. No, it was just to block the insane amount of noise that was coming. So I'll go to concerts, and if I didn't bring earplugs, I'll shove earbuds into my ear just to block some of the crazy acoustic pressure that comes out of these concert halls. And like, I'm going to work as hard as I can for the rest of my life to never leave someplace and hear that whine, that like high-pitched piercing buzz. If you know, any of your family members, like you were saying with your son, if any of your family members are audio sensitive, get them something.
Yeah, because the very first time we were at a college basketball game, they took all the 6th graders to a college basketball game, and the whole time he plugged his ears, and I felt bad for him. I'm like, how is he enjoying this with his ears plugged the whole game?
I mean, think back to like when you see like little kids in distress when a loud noise sort of surprises or scares them, and instead of acknowledging that and trying to help them, empowering them even just to block their ears, we sit there and act like, oh no, toughen up, kid, loud noises, and you're supposed to have your ears ringing and blah 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 blah. Like, no, no, you're not. That is your body sending you a pain response to say, this is doing damage internally to one of the most important sensory apparatus that we've evolved to have. And our society sort of looks down on that like you're a weakling. But I make money on my ears. That is a necessary part of my livelihood. Beyond that, it's also just a primary part of every single entertainment experience that we're subject to. And I would like to be able to have a conversation with my wife in my 80s and still be able to hear her. You know, like this is so core to the experience of being human that the modern technological age that we're in is kind of destroying for us before we even have a chance to make an informed decision as a consumer.
I think my ears are desensitized. Because before, when I was younger, I would listen to music and with my headphones on and my earbuds in, like I loved it. Now I can't; it gives me a headache. I can only listen to music out, like if I have to put it on the TV or something like that. But I will listen to people talk, things like that. But I can't listen to music in my ear; it gives me a headache.
Well, and again, like finding the right fit for you is a very personal experience. Like maybe it's a certain type of foam in your earbud. Maybe it's a certain type of cup shape that would frame your skull better. It's very difficult. I'm not saying that this is easy. It's actually very difficult to find that personalized fit, that experience that really matches your biology, that's really going to do it for you. David Burns, Apple be selling us hearing aids with a 300% markup. Yeah, my pricing, by the way, $2,000 per ear is what I can get at Costco. So
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure an Apple version of something like that will be at least double that per ear. It's so much of this, unfortunately, you can't share in the same way that you can share a screen. You can walk into a Target and see all of the TVs in super HDR juicy color mode and go, okay, yeah, I want the LG or I want the Samsung or I want the Westinghouse. You can't do the same thing with Hearing Aid Pro.
Hearing Aid
LFA
Pro.
killing me.
LFA.
And I'll throw the shout out. I do this every week on my own podcast. I'll do it on yours too. If you want to join that headphone conversation and get a great informed viewpoint, LFA's channel is phenomenal. For talking about true wireless and earbuds and just the different types of tuning that goes into each product. He definitely knows what he's talking about, and he's a joy to listen to as he's sharing that experience. Because it's not like I want the more bass and I want the more treble. I think he does a great job of breaking down. This is the sonic signature. So this is something that doesn't appeal to me, but I can understand where it might appeal to you. He's very savvy at that.
So I would like to share two voice messages that we got this week. One from Ronaldo and one from Tech Boner. So when I play, we have to be very, very quiet. and then afterwards we'll come back in. So let me go ahead and okay.
Hey, I wanted to say thank y'all for giving me a shout out last week. Didn't even know about this voicemail feature. I didn't even know you could do it from the computer. I was thinking I had to call y'all and leave a voicemail, but I want to say thank y'all so much. This Unlock Custom Droid, I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you again.
Hello, this is Jay Lewis, aka Tech Boner, and I'd like to let you girls know I really enjoy your podcast. I listen to you guys on a weekly basis. I also officially added you guys to my rotation. I drive 100 miles a day to commute back and forth to work, and you guys are now part of my enjoyment when I'm on my commute. Just want to say keep up the good work. And again, I really enjoy your podcast. You guys be blessed and have a great day.
Those are great voicemails.
You can talk, man.
Okay, good. Yeah. I didn't know if we were back.
Oh, and we tell people they can call in and give us what we need improvement on and whatnot, or what they want to talk about.
Yeah. Ronaldo just had a baby today.
Congratulations. He has a new little
Congratulations to him. Today's such a good day. Yeah, today is ending off really well. I was when he told me that his daughter was born, I'm like, whoa, like you just told me like a couple hours ago you were going to the doctors. She's so precious. Congratulations, Ronaldo. She's very lucky to have you as a dad.
Oh. Daddy's girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look at here.
I mean, like, again, I was, totally fell into the exact cliche. My daughter has me wrapped around her little finger. She's only 4. It's going to get bad.
Yeah.
So.
Did she enjoy herself at Disney?
It was, so my wife and I, we thought we were going to be cool. We was like, oh, we're just going to go down to a hotel for your birthday and visit with Poppy and Grandma, and it's going to be really quiet. And then we surprised her. Like, we took her to Disneyland, and we thought we were being really cool about it. Like, we're going to get this amazing, like, she's going to freak out. She's going to think it's so cool. And the entire time we were walking up to the park after parking and, like, out of the car, and she's seeing all these people, like, with Mickey Mouse ears, and she's just really concerned because this isn't what we told her was going to happen. So like for the first, like, I would say the first, like, half hour she was there, she was just convinced that we had made a terrible mistake. Like, you see those commercials like, and you're going to Disneyland, and the kids freak out. We never got that. She was just like, no, I don't think we're supposed to be here. This isn't what you told me was going to happen. So
was there a lot of lines?
So we got there just as the park was opening, and it was on we were in the park on a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And in the first hour that we were there, we made it through Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Teacups, the Cinderella ride, the Snow White. There's that teeny little haunted Snow White forest ride. Ooh. And what is it? The Toy Story Astro Blasters, the Buzz Lightyear laser blaster game.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
It's I mean, like, I get brutally competitive about Astro Blasters. First hour, like, we made it through all of that, and that's when the line started hitting. So yeah, it took us a while to get through the Millennium Falcon. It took us a long while to get through the Nemo. There's that submarine Nemo ride in Tomorrowland.
Cool. Wait, so you actually get in, like, a submarine and it goes down?
Yeah, it's on a track. I mean, it's on rails. It's not like a really exciting boat ride, and it once you're underwater, it's a lot of, like, animation that's being projected on the windows and stuff. It's not like you're getting to really see underwater wildlife. But by the time we got to lunch, that's when everything was getting really bad. I was shocked, though, that that first hour we made it through like 5 rides, and we were in line for our 6th, and then we had lunch, and she thought that was amazing. So I don't have the heart to break it to her that, like, then if we ever when we go again, usually you wait in line for 3 hours to get on something super basic. So we'll have to see, because she also really wants to go and hit California Adventure and see, like, all of the Coco and the Cars Land and stuff like that. So maybe for her 5th birthday, we'll pull that off.
I saw that you posted on Twitter the Star Wars section.
Mm-hmm.
How is that like?
I can't lie. I mean, like, I'm definitely more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan. I'm that nerd who had the Klingon English dictionary when I was growing up. It is, and I want to be super cynical. Disney and Star Wars and corporatism, and walking up on a life-size Millennium Falcon and seeing, like, stormtroopers hassling, like, people dressed up like Jedis, and Kylo Ren is running off in the background, and there's like a mystery that's happening. Like, it's so hard. Like, 10-year-old me is just freaking out that it's so well done and it's so well put together, and like 39-year-old me is like, but Disney and corporations and and then 10-year-old me is like, shut up, this is cool. So it was actually pretty sweet, and getting to share that with my 4-year-old daughter at the same time, because she's aware of this stuff. We haven't watched the original Star Wars trilogy, but, like, she kind of already knows about all of these characters just from her interaction with friends at her preschool and stuff. So, like, she knows about Chewbacca and Han Solo flying the Millennium Falcon, and she knows about Darth Vader, and she knows about, Jedis and lightsabers and stuff. So even her, like, eyes like dinner plates, eyes like saucers, just like, real spaceships and real robots and real droids. And I wonder if Chewbacca's hiding. I wonder if we can find him and help him because the stormtroopers are here. And you're like, this is magic. This is exactly like what fandom should be like for some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of the trappings of mega corporations and billion-dollar companies and all of that, it's there is still something that's kind of amazing about sharing that with your kids.
So in the end, it was like, shut up and take my money type of situation.
A little bit. I'm not. I wish I could be more stoic, but no. I nerded out more than I thought I was going to. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So again, it was a fun surprise for her 4th birthday, and that she was old enough, I think, to kind of appreciate. She got a good scare during Pirates of the Caribbean, like that kind of spooked her, but then it was fun. And then Haunted Mansion, and she loved all the floating ghosts and all the spooky Halloween stuff. I mean, it again, getting to experience that through her eyes helped a lot. Where my wife and I, if we had just gone on our own, we're like, oh yeah, this is fun. Okay, yeah, we're cool. And I remember The Little Mermaid, and I love that soundtrack. Again, it is like sharing it all together as a family makes that park so much more exciting.
Shout out to Tech King Mike's wife, who was our 200th subscriber today.
Oh, thank you. Welcome, Alexis.
Dang, I'm so excited. And like I get to be with you on like breaking all these milestones. This is awesome.
We appreciate you being here. Yeah, I like what Sean Williams had to said. He said, we all should be able to see the world through a child's eye one more time.
I do it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to be coming down here soon with your son for Disney, right?
Yeah, when he graduates, he wants to go to Disney. So
right on. Yeah. All right, as you're going through, like, let me know. Maybe we can meet up and do a little family time or something.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to drag some other people down too. We'll see how that all goes.
Well, Disney is like the best place to like link up and stuff because it's just adventure everywhere.
And they have been working to improve. I mean, like California Adventure, when my wife and I first moved to California, was a joke. Like it was not good. And they've been working to make that better and more exciting and a lot more fun. And Disney owns like every major franchise right now. So they've got access to everything. If you want Muppet stuff, it's there. If you want Marvel stuff, they're building it now. It's pretty crazy. So
yeah, I feel like as long as they're able to tell a good story, I don't care who owns who. Because when the whole thing went down with Spider-Man, I was so worried.
Yeah, see, that's where this stuff gets gross. You know, it's so funny. Like Sony became an underdog in a fight against Disney. You know, like mega billion-dollar corporation Sony. Oh no, I'm so sad. Spider-Man, you guys can't come to a contract negotiation to make this work for Marvel movies. Billions and billions and billions of dollars.
It was good publicity.
The thing I hope that we can still keep some of these corporations in check. You know, if Disney owns like 50% of the active franchises in film and TV, then we need to make sure that they can't use that to leverage terrible deals with television stations and movie theater owners. And we've seen Disney try and throw their muscle around. We see Disney try and influence politics for things like copyright law. We don't want to lose sight of these are stories that become sort of the backbone of our modern day mythology and philosophy. And they can be these amazing tales for empowering people and for drawing communities together and creating these experiences. Money needs to be generated. They need to be a part of commerce, but we shouldn't let the commerce overshadow the myth. We shouldn't let the money run roughshod over the magic of these stories and what they can do for our kids. It's always exciting when you can use like a comic book as a like a part of a morality tale or, you know, an expression of what society could be. It can also be used to do gross stuff too when we're getting lawyers and money and stuff involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been having conversations with my daughters about things like that because they're 12 now. So
Mhm.
they're at that age where we can have like full blown conversations about certain things that, we watch. And it's funny how sometimes they school me on stuff.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
was
well,
talking to them about the Joker movie. They're like, why didn't you take me to the movies with you? I was like, oh, I didn't think you guys wanted to watch Joker. They're like, we wanted it to watch Joker. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess next time, I guess we'll have to wait for it to come out and we can download it or whatever. And then they were like, well, what is it about? And I was like, well, I told them like, just like in the layman's terms, it's like,
right.
I loved it because to me it was about like how anarchy would come about. And so then me and my daughter, we were talking about different forms of government. And I was like, yeah, the democratic society that we're in right now is not perfect, but, at least we know that it can go either way and that there is a possibility of going good. And then she told me, what are you talking about? We don't live in a democratic society.
We live in a republic.
No, we don't. She said, we live in a representative.
Well, yeah, but that's like.
And then I was like, wait, that's not what I was taught at school. She was like,
right,
yeah,
because
we don't get to vote on actual laws. We vote for people to represent us in choosing the laws that we want. And I was like, but no, there are certain times, like, certain state things. You're like, yeah, but that's at the state level. Federally, and I'm like sitting there like, okay, I'm listening to the teacher here talking to me about what type of government we live in right now.
See, but again, that's an amazing shared moment and brought about by a conversation about something that might have been kind of innocuous. Right now, my daughter is obviously very sensitive about things like fires. We actually went to a play date 2 weeks ago when the last batch of fires were just clearing up, and the family had been evacuated, but their house hadn't been burned down. And my daughter got to see firsthand like the charred fire line that led right up to the back wall of her house. And so she woke up yesterday complaining about having had nightmares. And, she had nightmares about fires. And she got this kind of screwed up look of determination on her face, and then started saying, but the next time fires come, I'll be a firefighter and I'll help people escape the fires. And again, it's, we get to guide and we get to teach and we get to expose to concepts and try and be good role models. She came up with that on her own. Like, yeah. I, as much as I want to claim, all this credit for being a great parent, like I helped expose her to things. And we talk about helpers and people who drive ambulances and people who drive firefighters. And my uncle is a retired firefighter, but no, she's just making me look good there. She came up with that on her own. And that's what's impressive is still finding those opportunities where we live in a culture that change is actually going to be the constant. When I hear about my grandparents and my great grandparents would describe the world they grew up in, we're growing up and we're aging in a world of aggressive evolution and aggressive change. And I feel like cross-generationally, I will be able to learn more from my daughter as I get older than I feel my parents were able to learn from me at the same age. I feel like she will be able to contribute more to my education as I get older because of these rapidly changing and evolving tools and technologies. And hopefully that becomes something that will draw us together. I get very frustrated by this, like, oh, these millennials and oh, these post-millennials and oh, these kids eating avocado toast. And I really don't feel like previous older generations have fully absorbed how much different the world became over the last 20 years. I feel like I'm at that transitionary generation. Like, hopefully I can be a good bridge builder generation. Yeah. But no, this stuff is going to get out of my control very, very quickly. And I'll probably need her to help translate what's going on with all of these things happening in the stuff that I care about and in the technologies that I adore.
Thank you, Tana. So that's very inspirational. He said, it's impressive when two women raise that much money without twerking. # smart women are awesome.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen.
Yeah. What did we hit?
We are at 3:45.
Oof. I love it.
So again,
Good
shout out to
job.
Grant S, Thomas Kelly, Tana Salit, Two Phones, Gary the Fireman, TK, David Burns, Sean Williams, El Jefe, Mike Thomas, Lori, Big House Productions, Dr. Darren Walter, and Juan Bagnell. Thank you.
Proud of
Mwah,
you.
mwah, mwah. $345. That is nothing
we
to
were
be
just trying
shy
to get
about.
to one. Yeah, we were wanting to get to 100. It's like,
Yeah.
hopefully we can get there.
See, now you just got to set your next goal even higher, though. It's you're chasing the dragon. It's never ending.
So what we want to do is whenever we have a special guest on, to do a fundraiser at the same time.
That is a brilliant plan, which I wholeheartedly endorse, and I thank you so much for picking a cause that I'm not only happy but I'm excited to support. So again, this is a good day. This is a real good day.
Yeah. So we are just over the 2 hour. Sorry, I can't talk. 2 hour mark.
Yeah.
So we should be ending the podcast.
Yes, our longest podcast. But most
I wreck that for everybody. Literally every show I go on, I was like, oh, we try and keep our show to 45 minutes, a half hour, and you're like, not with me on.
Well,
God,
Mr.
so
Catwoman
sorry.
did say that. He's like, I don't know how you guys are going to keep it to an hour. And I said, I don't plan on keeping it to an hour.
No.
Yeah.
I thought 200.
We're not going to dilute
2
ourselves.
hours was a good goal.
I feel so bad.
No,
it
was
No,
really
because
good.
we talked for a long time too, and that's why we don't do. That's why we do our live stream the way we do it. We do articles. We don't even address people until we're done with everything. Because we be on for 5 hours.
It'll never end.
Gary the Fireman is a regular on my show too, and like JCB always goes long. He's seen me pop up on a few other shows, and
yeah. And he did say on your podcast yesterday that he'll teach your daughter to be a fireman. I thought that was so cool.
This is if you don't mind the secondary plea for obviously supporting an amazing cause with Autism Speaks, but there are people in our society whose whole job, like their 9-to-5 existence, their day is putting themselves into tremendously perilous situations that we love to celebrate them after something like a major catastrophe, but it's also like the day-to-day stuff where they're still doing the job and they're still holding the line. And as soon as the fires calm down in my neighborhood and we're not surrounded and getting evacuation alerts on our phones, I think one of the things that's going to help my daughter settle with these nightmares and these concerns and these fears that a 4-year-old is trying to wrestle with is we're just going to go get some muffins and walk them by the local fire station. You see these people in your community, they're your neighbors, they're your friends, they're people that keep your community and your neighborhood safe. Give them a nod, give them a fist bump, shake a hand, drop off some food, buy them a coffee, buy them a beer. It doesn't matter where, not just here in California, where the LA firefighters are doing an amazing job. You're in Kansas, you're in Arkansas, you're in Texas. These people are a part of the social fabric that keep our society functioning. And I don't feel like they always get the recognition that they deserve when times are going well, that they're still making compromises for their families to keep the rest of the neighborhood running well. So again, anything you can do, to acknowledge and just show them that they're appreciated, I think would go a long way.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing that message. So do you still have the fire? So I know so we're gonna wrap it up, but I have one question.
Yeah.
Are the fires still going on in your area?
Yeah. So Southern California still has a lot of blazes happening. What we went through was maybe the scary. So I live in a pretty quiet little community that's far enough away from like the hills and the brush you would have to burn through a bit of city before we would be evacuated. Which is why the Sepulveda Basin fire was as scary as it was for a day. Because like the landmarks that you see in my camera reviews, that's what went up in this recent fire. So I want to get out there and shoot some video and show, like, you know, here's scorched earth from where I used to show you pretty flowers and Lake Balboa and stuff. The helicopters were actually pulling water from this little community park that has this little man-made lake to try and put out the fires and keep them from burning residential areas. So we spent the last 2 nights getting sort of woken up every hour on the hour with those text emergency alerts saying to prepare for an evacuation. Thankfully, it seems like the winds have pushed those brush fires in different directions, but there's still a ton of hot spots around the state. We still have fire crews going in there to literally burn stuff and make fire lines to try and keep brush out of the way. We've got aerial crews doing fixed wing and helicopter water drops. I mean, a lot of people are still mobilized, and the regular, just normal city stuff is still happening, where at the same time as we were getting the Sepulveda Basin alerts, like, oh, and by the way, 2 blocks over, an apartment complex, 2 units just went up because someone left the stove on, and the firefighters still have to respond to that. You know, like the normal daily city life stuff still happens too. So again, it's heady stuff. This is the closest we've ever been, my family's ever been, to seeing fire marching towards our neighborhood. And it was pretty freaky. My heart definitely goes out to those folks that have been living in the more northern communities that face this stuff on a more regular basis. I think it's just going to be a normal aspect of living in the Southwest, in Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, as climate changes on us, that a more regular part of our experience is going to be fire prevention, building smarter buildings that can withstand some of these flare-ups and brush fires, stuff like that. So that empathy and that consideration, I feel like we're all a part of these different communities. We're all going to be affected in different ways. Maybe in your neck of the woods, it's hurricanes. Maybe it's tornadoes. Maybe it's earthquakes. Maybe it's fires. I feel like this is one of those opportunities that our whole country can kind of come together to say, we'll be there for you. California money is going to go to Arkansas. You know, Florida money is going to go to New York the next time they have a freeze. We can all be better neighbors, regardless of the exact geography that we're living in.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for coming on the podcast with us and being our first special guest. You definitely made it memorable. We love you very much.
Yeah.
Oh, I have been tickled watching your podcast come up, watching people take the initiative to make something, to put themselves out there and to join these discussions. We want more points of view. We want more. And I don't mean diversity in like, well, what color is your skin? But literally the diversity of different experiences and different perspectives is exactly what we should be trying to embrace in this gadget community. It's what got me started in talking about this stuff, from the early having actors slap bagels out of my wife's hands to talk about movies to today, you know, like digging into obscure video rendering tests on smartphones. Like, I feel like there are these pockets of discussion that we need to be doing a better job of celebrating and highlighting and bringing more visibility. So I am just, again, tickled and overjoyed to be a part of your rise in doing some really amazing things and bringing light to causes and contributing to causes and talking about the stuff that I love from a perspective that I never would have considered just if I stayed in this one little office all by myself all the time.
We didn't get a chance to get it, like, to talk a lot about your Reddit, but your Reddit is awesome. You know, r/growing rectangle. As a matter of fact, when you were first talking about it, but you didn't put the link, I was looking for our rectangle. Eventually I found it. But yeah, I love it. Like, I find new people on there. I get to share, you know, other creators that people don't know about. It's just awesome, just kumbaya. It's just a great community.
And we'll have y'all linked up in the stream.
And to that point, I think we see it every single time people earnestly, not just like I want to be popular on YouTube and make money and stuff like that. You know, like we're doing this because we're passionate about it. Obviously, I feel like your monetization and your time should be valued for contributing, and I feel like you deserve that monetization and stuff. But you know, you build up a little community like your podcast. I put together a little Reddit. I think there's only like 500 people subscribed to the Reddit, but you just see so many amazing stories from channels that YouTube will never serve you as part of their algorithm. You go to your YouTube subscriptions. I am subscribed with bell icons on, and YouTube doesn't send me this stuff. But we make an effort in our community to find these people, to follow these people, and to watch what they make. And we get incredible stories out of it. We get incredible coverage out of it. And that's why I love seeing what you're doing too, is this isn't something that I feel like would have been on my radar if I had only paid attention to the algorithm. The algorithm wouldn't have been out there fronting and supporting this kind of stuff. But my audience and your audience and Reddit's audience and Twitter and the people that I follow on Twitter are talking about way more exciting things than the robots at Facebook and YouTube are trying to promote.
Al Gore, you know, he just loves putting stuff in locked boxes.
It's just, you know, I guess it's easier. I don't know. I'm gonna get it.
All right, great. So we'll just wrap it up here, everyone. SomeGadgetGuy, aka Juan Bagnell. I'm Catwoman.
And I'm the Gadget Goddess, and we are
your homegirls of tech
here on the Gadget Tech podcast. See you real soon. Aren't you supposed to say see you real soon?
Yeah.